This is the regular meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Compliance and Amendments Committee. It's Tuesday, October 11th, 2011. The meeting is called to order at 4:05 p.m. Mr. Rustum, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Member Snyder? Snyder absent. Member Nee?
Aye.
Nee present. Member
I'm
Washburn?
Here.
Washburn present. Member Wolf? Wolf absent. Member Johnson?
Here.
Johnson present. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we find members Snyder and Wolf's absences excused because they're en route, but both of them have work-related responsibilities that are making them tardy. So I would say that merits excusing them until they get here or until our meeting adjourns, whichever comes first.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I second.
Is there any, do we take public comment on this? Yeah, okay. Is there any public comment on this motion? Seeing none, Mr. Rustum, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. On the motion, Member Nee?
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Johnson?
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Member Washburn?
Aye.
Washburn, aye. Madam Chair, the motion passes.
Mr. Rustum, would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
The first item on the agenda is the approval of September 13, 2011 meeting minutes.
I move to approve.
Second.
Member Johnson?
I have some edits on the first page. I wrote mine on I wrote mine on my draft that I didn't have this, so they're the same. Okay, so it's page 2 of the minutes, and it's page 4 of the packet, the very first page of the minutes. In roll call, it has Member Snyder present and absent, and I know he was late, but I'm not sure what the standard normally is.
Through the chair, which item number is it, Mayor?
It's roll call. It's got Member Snyder as being present and Member Snyder as being absent, and he was late. He came in a little bit late, but I don't know that we normally...
That is a mistake, Mayor, through the chair.
Okay.
I'll correct it.
Okay.
And then on the next page, it's page 5 of our packet, and item number 4, that's an easy one. In the second paragraph, it says there was no one in the audience to present facts and figures.
Okay.
I think you meant information or evidence.
Evidence.
I mean, that's
Facts
our
and
normal.
evidence?
Yeah, and it says it again, facts and figures in the next sentence. So I don't know if you want evidence or information, whatever is standard. And then in item 3, I have a couple of different things, but not in item 3. In item 3, I wanted to know if the other members felt that there needed to be some sort of a... It says that the task force should have certain, in public comment from Mr. Hartz, it says that the task force should have certain expectations from the administrator that should not be under the control of the clerk of the board. It seems like maybe we could insert, should have certain expectations or certain requirements for the minutes. I think that's what Mr. Hartz was trying to say. So maybe take out expectations and put in requirements for the minutes. Or any suggestion?
Yeah, I agree that needs to be clarified because I wasn't sure what it meant when I read it, and then since I was here, I kind of understood. Maybe Mr. Rustum should check the recording too. I mean, I think that your edit probably is true to what he said, but just double check what Mr. Hart said. That the task force should have certain expectations about what's in the minutes, or...
Madam Chair, what he was trying to say is basically the clerk of the board should not be dictating me what to do and what not to do. and the authority should come from the task force, not from the clerk of the board.
Okay, so,
Well, then this is accurate then.
should
if
have
that's what you're saying.
certain expectations from the administrator that should not be under the control of the,
Instead
Okay.
of the word that, the word
Okay.
who.
so perhaps it'd be better to leave it the way that it is then. It's not necessarily about just the minutes.
Or certain expectations about the administrator's role and duties.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, expectations about the administrator's role and duties.
And then in item 5, and where it says heard on that same page, complainant Ray Hartz presented a status report. And I think that in light of the motion, we need a sentence in there that says something like his 150-word statement was not moved to within the body of the minutes. Because then we make a motion to refer it to the Ethics Commission. And then on the next page, page 6 of our packet, in item 6, in the third paragraph down, should be a comma after seconded by Member Wolf. That's a small one. And then on the last page, page 7 of our packet, in announcements on item 10, the second sentence says, Member Johnson said the Ethics Commission's website has a listing that shows the sunshine complaints that were dismissed. And the point of it is, the point of what I had asked was that they aren't dismissed. So I think we should cross out the word that, so that Member Johnson said the Ethics Commission's website has a listing that shows sunshine complaints were dismissed, and then add a sentence, Ethics has no authority to dismiss sunshine complaints. Member Johnson wants to request Ethics change that wording. And that's why then the next sentence, Member Wolf said the item should be put on the task force agenda and discussed by members.
Did you get all that?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any public comment?
Excuse me.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Member.
Just have a couple of things. First of all, on the roll call question, I'm wondering if there was a vote to excuse me from that. It says I'm absent, and I guess really the attendance record officially it deals only with attendance at regular meetings of the full task force. But I'm just curious to know if I was excused from that meeting because I was out of town
Yeah.
visiting family.
Well, you were
It is on there.
You were excused throughout the,
Oh, okay, that's fine.
There's
But
a
I'm-
sentence that says you were excused
Okay,
after
that's
agenda
fine.
changes.
That's fine. Second thing, under just a grammatic wording kind of a thing, in item 6, on packet page 6, second paragraph, I would strike the words struck out and substitute the word stricken. This is end of the second paragraph under item 6. Substitute stricken for struck out.
okay, at this time, is there any public comment on the minutes from our meeting of September 13th?
Good afternoon, task force members. I would encourage you to use whatever strongest possible language you can to get through to ethics, that they're not allowed to re-adjudicate your cases. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Rustin, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. On the motion, Member Nee.
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Member Washburn.
Aye.
Washburn, aye. Madam Chair, we have 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Mr. Rustin, would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 2 is hearing on the status of the August 23rd, 2011 order of determination of Cynthia Carter against the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency.
All right. The complainant now has 5 minutes to give us a status report on this order of determination.
I've received nothing to this date. I had a civil service hearing to determine whether I can go back and work with Muni. I did put it off. I told them I wasn't able to show up, and so until I get the records that I need, I can't go to any hearings with them. They have sent me nothing. To this date, nothing. And I've even called and asked them, well, can I go to the department and request these papers? I went to the street ops, which is where I can get some of the records for some of my case. They told me that an attorney had to get the records, that they weren't allowed to give me stuff about myself to me. So there's different departments in Muni that I would have to go to get the records, and nothing's being done. I've heard nothing from Caroline Celaya at all. I'm just like stuck. I'm at a dead end. I don't know what to do from here. I think I've done everything I could possibly do. And I believe they're not giving me the records because they don't want me to succeed in my civil service hearing.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to offer facts and evidence in support of the complainant? Okay, seeing none, is the respondent present? Yes.
Hi, I'm Caroline Celaya, Assistant Board Secretary and also Public Records Coordinator for the agency. And I had misunderstood. I thought that this initially was because she had requested her personnel file and that wasn't provided. So Kathy Fowlis with our Human Resources Department showed up at the last meeting to confirm that everything had been provided. It was there that we learned that there were some other documents that she said were missing. I know that looking at her request, we had sent copies of the central control logs, and I have another copy here for her. And she wanted logs from the Flynn mechanic shop. I believe those are logs where the operator calls in, and there were some personnel issues with that, and we had sent a letter with a waiver asking that she would have to waive her rights in order to receive those unredacted. But I do have them, and I just redacted those areas that would have pertained to her personnel records, i.e. whenever she called in ill, which is a personnel issue that we wouldn't want to provide to the members of the public. So I do have that as well. I think the hope was that she would be signing the waiver and I would just give the document as is. But since that didn't happen, I have showed up here with those redacted documents. Other than that, when I circled with staff throughout the agency, I didn't hear back from anybody else, but I'm happy to go back. I noted that she was looking for side letters, which I believe should have been provided as part of the personnel file, but if they weren't, I'm happy to go back and double check with staff. Same with the inspector's reports. I can double back and see if they have a way that they can check. I didn't hear back, but I'm happy to go back and check with staff again. Also, on the complaint under the order of determination, there's a mention which I didn't see in the actual request. It wasn't that specific, and I had sent an email asking that if she could be a little bit more specific. The initial request was very broad, but she was looking for EEO records, which again, I'm happy. I had not even asked staff about this. I was unaware that was part of what she was looking for, and I understood that it was all part of HR, but apparently there's a different section within the agency that houses that. So I'm happy to go back and get those items that are missing that I don't have and to provide her with what I do have right now.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to offer facts and evidence in support of the respondent? Okay, seeing none. Members? Member Nee?
Yeah. Ms. Salaya,
Yes.
first of all, the order of determination was issued September 2nd. That would have given you till September 7th or 8th to comply therewith. Why is this dragged on so long?
I just understood that Kathy Fallis was handling this. It wasn't until I looked closely at this that I realized there were other items besides her personnel file. Because when the complaint came in, it said that it was pertaining to the personnel file. So when it came in, I automatically just sent it over to Kathy, thinking that it was something that she would be able to handle.
Another question. You've heard the complainant, Ms. Carter, state that she was denied certain documents and told that those documents could be provided only to an attorney. Do you know what documents those are?
I don't. I personally believe that the staff was misinformed and
Okay,
provided her with
and
the
the
incorrect
reason, I mean,
information.
it seems to me there is another violation at work here, and that is when a document is denied, withheld, under 67.26 or 67.27, pardon me, I don't have it right in front of my eyeballs, but when a document is withheld, there has to be a written justification for withholding that document, citing the specific provision in law that exempts or prohibits that document from being disclosed. So it seems to me that we have that particular violation at work here, where there is not a written justification for withholding the document, citing the specific point in statutory or case law.
And one of the letters I do have a copy of on June 6th, we did have an exemption and privileges section saying that the records we were withholding because disclosure would constitute unwarranted invasion of personal privacy under state law. That's the one, I think, where we asked that she sign the waiver so that we can provide the documents. So
Whose personal privacy were we talking about?
her own. But once information is provided, then it becomes public and other people can have access to it. And that's what we want the employee or the person to understand.
Thank you.
Member Johnson?
I don't understand I know that originally that Kathy Fallis appeared at the hearing in August because of, she explained the same thing that you did about it being the personnel records, but the whole hearing was about the fact that there were these other records. So originally you had sent it to Kathy Fallis, but I don't understand why the order of determination wasn't then followed up on. I haven't heard an answer to that second half. Because it was also was supposed to be a month ago, but because Ms. Carter had to leave, we had to continue it. So now it's 30 days. Is there a reason why is there something going on or some reason why all that time would have passed now that at the hearing everyone seemed to be aware that it was more than just Ms. Fallis's records?
I don't know that there's any particularly good reason that would satisfy the committee. There is no justification. I think there was just a misunderstanding.
Was there a search done based on this order of determination?
No.
Thank you.
At this time, the respondent has 3 minutes to offer a rebuttal. The respondent, and then the complainant. Ms. Celaya, do you have anything further?
No, except to say that I'm happy to continue to work to search with staff to get the documents that haven't been turned over just yet.
Thank you. The complainant now has 3 minutes.
God, this is really befuddling, baffling. Just, the fact that a whole year has gone by and I don't have the paperwork. I initially gave the letter to Kathy Fallis, who in turn gave me everything that she had to give me. Now that I understood everything else was in Caroline Celaya's hand, why does it take a whole year to get paperwork when you can go to these certain places and get the paperwork? What's the problem? What is the issue, really? Why are we holding back my records? Why? Really, what's the problem? Now, if you've been working on it, and within a year, I'm sure if I was allowed access into these places, I would have been able to get the records. If they weren't denying me the records, I'd had them a long time ago. So this sounds like a bunch of crock to me that she's talking.
Thank you. Is the member Nee?
Yeah, before we get on to any motions, I just want to ask an additional question to Ms. Carter. You heard Ms. Celaya say that certain records would be our personnel records, and they would be released upon your signing of a waiver regarding your privacy. Were you aware of that particular condition, and if so, have you signed the waiver?
I have not signed a waiver. I told her I don't care if I've said it here. I said it in here. I don't care that the public can see my paperwork. I don't care. I want the paperwork, and I'm not signing anything else. I gave you a letter. Give me the stuff I need.
Well, but the waiver indicates your willingness to have the matter become public. That's what Ms. Celaya was saying. So, are you willing to? I get that you haven't signed that waiver yet. Are you willing to do so?
I mean, I'll sign it.
Okay.
If that's what it takes for me to get the paperwork.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carter, I just want to make sure that I understand what's been given to you, what's available today from Ms. Celaya, and what's outstanding. Mm-hmm. So Ms. Celaya said that she had the central control reports, those logs for you.
This is right here.
And also the mechanical reports on the defective buses, some information about that.
She said she wasn't able to get them. She just said she wasn't able to get them.
And then some write-ups from your supervisors.
Oh, she said she had them? Are they in here?
What's in there is the central control logs and the mechanic shop logs.
So everything from the past 5 years?
I believe even further back.
Oh, that's great. And what else?
So I think what's missing.
So what about accommodations?
Excuse me. There's to be no direct conversation. All conversation has to be directed through the body, and all questions and responses should take place at the microphone.
Okay. I also do not have all of my accommodations. During the last 6 months of my employment, there were people stating that the people were giving me accommodations on the bus. I never received them. There are still awards that I have not received, patches for safe driving. Again, side letters. I say accommodations. Off the top of my head, I can't think of everything, but she told you what I had. I don't have everything. I mean, this is really, 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 it's befuddling. You know, I'm really livid right now And it's taken, you don't know how much it's taking for me to control my mouth right now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to, Ms. Carter, so the type of thing that you don't have from Ms. Zelaya are all of the write-ups, including very positive write-ups that would support your case. So all of that from supervisors, members of, passengers, that sort of thing. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Okay. But you have, apparently the other material is available to you now.
Well, I have this, what she just stated that she has in here. I haven't seen it. Central control logs, and she said shops from, records from the mechanical shop at Flynn. And then I have my HR, my report, my HR files, which is not thorough. I don't have everything in there. It doesn't even go back to the time that I started, which was in '99. Everything, I can bring papers here that aren't even in my files that they didn't provide me with.
Okay, so there's some outstanding material from your personnel file. I'm wondering if the waiver that you said you would sign would help you gain access to
Well, we'll
everything
see.
else. Okay,
We'll see.
you. Thank you. Member Nee?
Madam Chair, I move that we refer this matter back to the full task force with a possibility that this matter will be referred to the Ethics Commission. I will not recommend at this time that the matter be referred, but I think that possibility should be there depending on what we learn at that time from the complainant and the respondent. It seems to me that this matter has dragged on far too long. It's been more than a month since the deadline on the order of determination passed, and I think we need to bring this matter to some kind of resolution. I'm sorry, there hasn't been a second, so I will not discuss it further.
Member Johnson?
For purposes of discussion, I'll second the motion. But my concern is that, I mean, she just basically said they didn't do a search, and she's just turning the documents over now. So to not refer it to, I mean, I'm not completely clear on how we can get the documents, because this is one of those cases where we can refer it to ethics, and I think we should. It's just not even responding to the order of determination at all.
Would you like to offer a substitute motion?
Well, at the same time, this is one of those cases where the complainant really wants the documents, not. So a friendly amendment might be not just, you had said you would not recommend it going to ethics, but to recommend it.
All right, the maker of the motion accepts.
Okay. I'd like to weigh in, and I tend to agree that this is definitely one that should be referred to ethics because of, the time that this has taken and the amount of time it's dragged on, and the fact that Ms. Zelaya was named in the order of determination but didn't really read it and study it to see what it said and what was required. And I think this order of determination was pretty straightforward in what the task force thought was needed in order to help the complainant. So I think that was a serious oversight to put the best spin on it. I'd like to now ask for public comment on the motion. Seeing none. Mr. Rustin, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. On the motion, Member Nee.
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Member Washburn.
Aye.
Washburn, aye. Madam Chair, there are 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. Rustin, would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
The next item is continued hearing on the status of the August 8, 2011 order of determination of Judge Wooding against the Recreation and Park Department, in which the department is urged to work with the Department of Technology to recover deleted data.
All right. At this time, the complainant has 5 minutes. Okay, that's good.
Thank you for seeing me this afternoon. I just wanted to say, right now I've received nothing from Ron Vincent from the Department of Technology. I have received a stack of many documents from the Recreation and Park Department last week. They came in. I have went through them. There are many PDF files. They're maps of Golden Gate Park. I look at them as being non-responsive to my original complaint, as they have absolutely nothing to do with what I had requested. They just came in a gigantic burst one day. I'm still confounded by what they are and why they were sent. Also, I wanted to state I did not mean to confound my sunshine request by adding the amendment regarding the Department of Technology to my original RPD complaint. It's taken the Department of Technology 36 days to hear from. I still haven't heard from them. And I believe that showing goodwill, Olive Gong and the Recreation and Park Department should have contacted the Department of Technology upon the date of my request, which was an immediate request. I'm asking this subcommittee to rule in my favor and return a finding of woeful failure and official misconduct to the full task force with a recommendation to forward to the Ethics Department, the District Attorney's Department, the Mayor, and the Civil Grand Jury for enforcement. Part of my complaint was really, as discussed by the committee, was that you wanted more time to go through what had happened or to talk to the IT department at Recreation Park Department, and I have never heard anything from committee or Recreation Park other than that one large group of documents. Last thing is, I guess, on August 8th, SOTF issued an order of determination, and on August 18th, Olive Gong finally responded. And that's pretty much what I have to say. I'm still waiting to see what will happen with the technology departments and the information and the retrieval of emails. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to offer facts and evidence in support of the complainant? You have 3 minutes.
That's Sean. I'll behave myself speaking now, not later, during public comment on this item. Mr. Wooding had submitted a document to you on September 26 indicating that Government Code 34090 indicates that unless otherwise provided by law and with approval of a legislative body by resolution and the written consent of a local city attorney, heads of city departments may destroy records after document is no longer required, but 34090 does not authorize destruction of records less than 2 years old. The whole point of trying to educate SOTF about Mr. Wooding's efforts through Ron Vincent at DT was to show that, or to illustrate that Mr. Vincent was making a superficial attempt to locate them within DT. As I've testified before, Rec and Park's emails, handled by Lotus Notes, goes directly through DT at their central headquarters, and they can pull this stuff off of backup tape. Backup tapes exist. The city wouldn't have a contingency plan for disasters and other occurrences where they would need to pull that stuff off of backup tape unless they, in fact, were and are actively backing stuff up on tape. There's a California Supreme Court ruling that says even if the expense of pulling something off a backup tape is, for example, $43,000. They have to spend the money. They have to pull off stuff off a backup tape. These subject line inquiries of email subject titles, Mr. Vincent is completely capable of producing. And in fact, Ms. Gong should have at first referred Mr. Wooding to DT as another agency that might have been able to assist him. This task force should have included that failure to engage DT in your order of determination. So I am here to support Mr. Wooding. This has dragged on since June, in which Ms. Gong says there are no further responsive emails, and yet there may well be a whole host of other emails on their backup tape that they simply don't want to admit exists. So for that reason, I agree with Mr. Wooding. You should return this case to the full task force with a recommendation that the full task force find willful failure, official misconduct, and refer the matter back to ethics where it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to offer facts and evidence in support of the complainant? Seeing none, the respondent has 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Olive Gong. I'm representing the Recreation Park Department. After our meeting here 2 weeks ago, I did direct staff to search records again and have our IT and city's IT search in finding emails. I just wanted to let you know that in searching again, we did find documents that a former employee who was an intern in our department had put together. We did originally ask her if she had any documents in response to Mr. Wooding's request, but she said that she didn't have any. But at your direction, we tried to find documents that would respond to his request, and his request of May dated June 3rd, 2011, included, it said, documents requested, all emails, correspondence, reports, proposals, notes, letters, memos, and other documents pertaining to the Commonwealth Club program of May 11th, 2011 on Golden Gate Park. And so the documents that we did send to Mr. Wooding on October 5th included notes that were given to, that were put together by the intern for Commissioner Buell for that meeting. So those are what those documents are, and yes, there were a large stack of them. And so Mr. Wooding does have them, and we did copy the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force on that email when we sent it. So the ordinance, your committee should also have those documents. Let's see, our department IT and city IT have been requested to find the backups for the 5 staff persons that Mr. Wooding is interested in for the April and May of this year. And so we are still awaiting those documents. We would just ask if you could give us a little more time for them to find these documents. But we are trying to find documents for Mr. Wooding in response to his request. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to offer facts and evidence in support of the respondent? Okay, seeing none, the matter is with the members of the committee. Member Nate?
Mr. Wooding, please. Give us just a rundown of what, and maybe I'm asking you to repeat yourself here, but if you could just make clear what documents that you have requested that you have not received?
The documents I requested were primarily documents prior to or on the day of May 11th regarding the Commonwealth Club. There had been a steady series of correspondence between the Rec and Park and Rec and Park employees, private and public, had sent emails to the Commonwealth Club convincing them that the panel I was on was not balanced, not fair, not good. There were some other personal things said.
Okay, let me just narrow it a little bit.
Yes.
The documents that you requested that you have not received, were these memoranda, were these formal letters, were these emails? What were they?
It was a combination. Some were under formal letterhead from Sarah Ballard. Some were from Mark Buell, were from Smartphone. It was a whole series. Some of the letters actually were from, as part of their private partnership. They had someone like Susan Hirsch.
Okay, but which of those have you not yet received?
Well, that has always been the question. I know what I do have. I just don't know what else was sent, and I've always been requesting what else was there. So that has been my issue that I've continued on because I felt they were fairly duplicitous. They were clearly not acting in line with any Recreation Park Department policy that I know, and they were going out predatory to affect private speech in other groups and bodies. And they were using people like Mark Buell, who carries an awful lot of weight in this town, for top-down pushing to, you can see what they're doing to the committees, who they're talking to. You can see the influence that's being pushed, and what took what would be a very small group meeting between maybe 4 panelists and maybe 40 people on a rainy Tuesday, and turned it into a standing room only, large room meeting, because now Mark Buell was there and there was some contention, and people all of a sudden, were wondering why this meeting was so blown out of proportion. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Member Johnson.
Ms. Gong, can you provide a reason why the IT departments need more time?
I don't know.
Okay, so the only reason that, thank you. The only reason that we moved this forward was for those backup tapes. So,
Yeah, I apologize. I don't have a reason. I don't know.
When you, I have one final question. When you, when the task force requested at the last meeting about the backup tapes, who in your department did you go to ask about having those backup tapes?
Sarah Ballard.
Thank you.
Member Nee.
Madam Chair, I move that this matter be referred to the full task force with a recommendation for referral to ethics for willful violation.
Nope.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. You're absolutely right.
Okay. Wait, I'm a little bit lost. I think Ms. Gong has the 3-minute rebuttal. And first the respondent, then the complainant. Ms. Gong, do you have anything further? Okay. Mr. Whitting.
I think I've made my point. I still don't understand. The documents they sent me were from an intern, and they're capital improvement documents. You can acquire these documents on their website or with just a little bit of effort. You can get a map of Golden Gate Park. You can get this was like the kitchen sink. It was everything that could possibly be sent that was sent, but nothing had anything to do with my original request or complaint whatsoever. And so I just want to say again, I think this might have been done so they can show that they were compliant. But in terms of actually addressing anything about my complaint, there was nothing there. So I just don't think they were trying to be very responsive. It looked more like a tactical maneuver that someone thought up in an afternoon and said, let's just bury this guy under, 100 megabytes of files and just keep sending them and sending them and sending them and sending them and sending them. And that's essentially what happened. So I would say that it's very sad that Olive Gong comes here today after 2 weeks and cannot, after you've specifically delayed and we've all come here to meet, she cannot even give an excuse, not even say that she talked to Sarah Ballard and was given a reason for a delay. I mean, this is, to me, I live and work in a business-type environment, and this would be completely irresponsible behavior worthy of firing in a private organization, because she has done nothing in 2 weeks to come back to the body and at least try to explain what's going on other than to ask more time. And she can't even say why she needs more time. So she has not even, I think they haven't even done the minimum due diligence. And I was requested to work with them, and I would just say that they have been completely consistent in all their dealings to date. So I just want to make that one point. Thank you.
Thank you. The matter's now back with the Task Force Member Nee.
With apologies for jumping the gun, I would again move to send this matter back to the full task force with a recommendation that this matter be referred to the Ethics Commission for willful violation.
Is there a second?
I second. I have a friendly amendment to make it willful failure and official misconduct.
Make or accept.
Okay.
I don't know if there's some way that sometimes in moving from the committee to the full task force, some pieces of why we sent it back to the full task force is not relayed to the other task force members. And I'm not sure if there's some way to put on there. I mean, the whole purpose of this particular hearing was to find out information about the backup tapes. And the reason why I think Member Snyder and I at the time had done that was that we wanted to be able to see these documents. We wanted to see some kind of evidence that they would look at the backup tapes and make it perfectly clear that that's what we were expecting. So just referring it to ethics seems, I want to do that, but if there's something that we could, if there's some wording that we might add, like referring it for willful failure and official misconduct, I don't know, I guess it's still not following the order of determination. I guess there's not much else you can, because it doesn't say about the IT part in this order of determination. It doesn't reflect what we just went through, which is pretty clear to me that Rec and Park doesn't want to do it. And I can't say, I have suspicions of why they don't want to do it, but it's pretty clear that they don't want to turn over the documents. But the order of determination doesn't mention this exercise that we just went through. So if we could add some wording in there that talks about the order of determination plus maybe the second task force request for IT documents. I don't know what we've done in the past, or if that's ever been done. I don't want that to get lost.
Right. I'm wondering if we could say willful failure to turn over the emails on the backup tape.
So the willful failure and official misconduct for failure to follow the order of determination and request for subsequent request for the backup tape material? Just put that on our agenda so that piece of it isn't lost, since that's the whole purpose for this hearing. That's the whole and sole purpose, not what didn't he get or any of those other things. We made a good faith effort to reach out to Mr. Ginsburg. Mr. Ginsburg is a department head, and the fact that he sends Ms. Gong here is like he's standing here. She is his proxy, but it is him. And it is shameful that they would come here and just say they had no idea why they need more time or why they did nothing, no explanation. So I don't want that to get lost when it comes to the full task force, that IT part of it.
Madam Chair, excuse me, can we have quiet in the audience, please?
Member Nee?
Yeah, while I certainly agree with the sentiment of what Member Johnson has said, I'm not sure it's necessary in our motion. I think in any referral letter that we send to ethics, we can make clear that that's part of our concern, and that would be a matter of public record. But I think if we just say in the motion, and I could amend it here to say willful, official of, rather than willful failure and official misconduct, we reword it to say official misconduct by reason of willful failure to comply with the order of determination. I think that would pretty much say it all, and then if we do move this to the Ethics Commission, we can state in the referral letter to ethics exactly what our why we're doing, and I think that would cover it.
Okay.
Does the second accept the rewording?
Yes.
Okay.
At this time, I'd like to ask for public comment on the motion before us.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Catherine Howard, Golden Gate Park Preservation Alliance. In a sense, I feel, again, responsible for what's happened because I helped to set up this program at the Commonwealth Club, and I was horrified at the correspondence that was revealed to us by the department. I am further shocked at the department's basically denial that they kind of never did this, and ooh, they can't find it. And now there's this sort of mysterious unnamed intern who has disappeared from the department, and they went through that person's computer, I guess, and tried to find a few things. I don't think those documents that they found anywhere come near to duplicating either what we know about or to fulfilling the request. You are, I think, aware of it, but I would like to repeat that this involves the director of Policy and Public Relations for the department, Ms. Ballard. It involves the general manager of the department, Mr. Ginsburg, and it involves the one person who should be providing oversight of the department, Mr. Mark Buell, the president of the Rec and Park Commission. If our commissions do not provide oversight for our departments, then we are indeed lost. Mr. Buell has filled out forms saying that he has done the sunshine training. So there is no reason for this information not to be made available. It is part of an unfortunate pattern of obfuscation on the part of the department, which infuses everything that they do. And I appreciate your taking the time to consider this for the serious matter that it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment on the motion?
Yes, I'd like to speak on in support of George's presentation here. I, too, have many times tried to get information from RPD and have been rebuffed for various reasons. One of the topics that this meeting involved artificial turf, which is a synthetic turf which has many harmful public health and children's health issues. And I feel this is one of the things they're really trying to avoid to address. And they've done many, there's actually, if you go on their website, there's meetings that I've attended that have disappeared. And I'm trying to get those put back on. But I'd like to put, and this may sound odd, but for website searches, to draw attention to this meeting. I'd like to put in certain keywords. Synthetic artificial turf, Pisces Incorporated, Fisher's Construction, Baycor Builders, Hirsch Associates, Public Health, Children's Health Hazards, Carbon Black, Nanoparticulates, Lead Poisoning, Mercury Poisoning, Zinc Leachate, Neural Inflammation, Carcinogens, Chronic Asthma, MRSA, PAHs. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment on the motion? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Rustin, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. On the motion, Member Snyder?
Aye.
Snyder, aye. Member Nee?
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Johnson?
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Member Washburn?
Aye.
Washburn, aye. Madam Chair, there are 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to call a 10-minute recess because we have to vacate this room and convene next door in 506.
Is someone
406. Thank you.
Is there a meeting in here?
Right. The regular meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Compliance and Amendments Committee is called back into session at 5:10 on October 11th, 2011. Mr. Rustin, would you call the next? Actually, it's time for general public comment. See no members of the public. Member Snyder?
I was just going to ask, Chris, did we change the room number on the sign out there? So that
I did.
You did. All right, great.
All right. Mr. Rustin, would you read the next item on the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next item is next steps on Ethics Commission proposed policy for handling sunshine-related complaints, including sending a letter to Supervisor Campos encouraging him to officially schedule a meeting between the Commission and the task force.
All right. As I promised last meeting, I drafted a letter to the members of the Ethics Commission and circulated it to each of you. Member Johnson had some very useful edits and also suggested that we draft a letter to Supervisor Campos encouraging him to officially schedule a meeting. Member Johnson, could you remind us about your reasoning for doing that?
Yeah. The Government Audit and Oversight Supervisor Campos is the chair of the Board of Supervisors Government and Audit Oversight Committee. And on September 22nd, they had a hearing on the San Francisco Civil Grand Jury's report, The Sleeping Watchdog. Mm-hmm. And during that meeting, one of the recommendations that the Civil Grand Jury had made was that the Sunshine referrals did not receive a hearing. And Supervisor Campos and Executive Director St. Croix had a back and forth dialogue about what was going on. And Mr. St. Croix mentioned what had been happening between the task force and the Ethics Commission with regards to the regulations. And Supervisor Campos said perhaps the Government Audits and Oversight should have a meeting, should have a joint meeting with Ethics Commission and the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force to work that out. So since we had not had much response from the Ethics Commission staff, one of the things that's kind of funny about it, if you watch that meeting, I can't resist bringing it up at some point. When you watch Mr. St. Croix speaking to Supervisor Campos, he constantly says, "my commissioners." He never refers to them as the Ethics Commission. You have to kind of watch it. It's kind of comical. I'm sure he's just saying it as, it's his people that he's working for, but he repeatedly calls them, well, my commissioners this, my staff does this for my commissioners. And so I thought that, if Supervisor Campos calls them there, they have to come. That's all.
Okay. Thanks for the backstory. Members? Yes. Member Nee?
I'm just curious. Has the letter gone yet to the Ethics Commission? And if so, what, if any, response have we received?
It hasn't gone yet.
Okay.
No.
I looked at I looked at the letter, and I think it's very well done.
Member Johnson?
Also, Mr. St. Croix had suggested to government audit and oversight that our regulations would be on their November agenda.
So
no guarantee, but that's what he said. Their staff was working on reviewing our recommendations.
Member Nee?
Just a quick question. Do the regulations have to go through the Board of Supervisors, or is this something that ethics is just going to decide on its own? Just a point of information.
I don't think that they have to go. It's the Ethics Commission doesn't have to get approval from the board for how it handles complaints and referrals.
As long as it's within their duties and powers as defined by the city charter.
Yeah, it was only brought up by the board because they are required to respond to the civil grand jury, and it was one of the items on the civil grand juries. They made other recommendations. I'm sure you saw. They even Supervisor Ellsburn reluctantly agreed that perhaps it would be good for the Ethics Commission to be televised. So that's where last Friday, the Ethics Commission came out with an announcement that they would televise their meetings, but that was really at the basically, request of the board. So.
Well, is any action required here?
Only if we want to send it to. Do we want to send a letter to Supervisor Campos as well, or you could CC him on perhaps this letter if that's more expedient.
Okay, the letter here is just informing the Ethics Commission that this joint meeting was suggested by Supervisor Campos. So CCing him would, inform them that he's aware that we've requested this meeting. So, but the agenda states that we were going to consider whether to send a letter to Campos encouraging him to officially schedule a meeting. So is that what we're going to... So, Member Nee?
Well, I'm just wondering if the board or any of its committees or any of its members have that particular power to schedule a meeting of our body and ethics or anybody else.
It's not. It would be a meeting of government audits and oversight where they're discussing ethics and Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, and it would be under the purview of the civil grand jury recommendations. And personally, I have no idea if this is accurate or not, but personally, my belief is there will be no joint meeting unless Supervisor Campos asks for there to be one. I could be wrong. Maybe there's been a couple of things where the Ethics Commission seems to be responding. So perhaps I could be wrong, and they will respond more favorably. But they don't have to meet with us, and if they do put it on their agenda in November, the commissioners could approve them right then, or including or not. We don't know necessarily yet what the they have the same 72-hour notice, right, for their agenda. So we wouldn't know if it was going to be on there for a while.
Well, when in November is their meeting? Ethics. When do they meet?
First Monday? I think it's the first Monday, but I would have to look.
The first Monday.
It might be the second Monday.
I am thinking, if time allowed, we would send this letter, wait 10 days for a response. If we don't get a response, then send a letter to Supervisor Campos asking him to schedule a meeting and CC all of them.
I'm fine with that.
I'm just wondering if there's time. It depends on whether their meeting is the first or second. Can somebody check real quick? The first or second Monday.
Madam
Mr.
Chair, would
Rustam?
you like me to go check on it?
If you would, yes. Thank you.
Should we recess briefly?
Yes, I call a 5-minute recess. the meeting's back in order.
That's all on tape.
So,
Yeah, my whole story right there. Are we going to cut that out?
okay. It's the regular meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Compliance and Amendments Committee, readjourning at 5:25, Tuesday, October 11th, 2011. And Mr. Rustin, what did you find out?
Yes, Madam Chair, they meet on the second Monday of each month.
The second Monday. Oh, that's helpful. Okay. So the idea, my suggestion was that we send this letter, give them 10 days to respond. If we don't hear, then we go to Supervisor Campos.
And it would be the second Monday. What day is that? Okay, there's the calendar right there.
That would be November 14th, I believe.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Is that motion?
I so move.
I second.
Without objection? Okay. 10 days, right. Mr. Rustin, would you read the next item on the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. The next item is the primary role of the Compliance and Amendments Committee following the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force finding in a complaint by a member of the public.
All right. Member Johnson, I believe you asked that this be put on the agenda.
This member, Vice Chair Wolf.
Oh,
I have no idea. I mean, I have no clue at all. Zero clue. Does anybody remember?
There was some general discussion after our meeting a couple of months ago about this was in response to a member of the public complaining to us to this committee was rehearing the issue, and that the role of the Compliance and Amendments Committee is to basically to check up on whether the agency has followed through on its obligations under the order of determination. And he said you really need to stick to that. And so there was some discussion that Vice Chair Wolf initiated, and I think I participated a little bit, about having a talk about what we do. And I suggested maybe as part of that we could discuss having some language that we include either with an order of determination or as a cover to an order of determination that explains to the parties what the hearing before this committee is for. That's maybe what Vice Chair Wolf had in mind when he put this on the agenda. I don't know.
I remember that was an issue that we sometimes sort of try to re-adjudicate the matter and trying to get more information, or it seems like that's what we're doing. Sometimes I think we're just trying to find out if there's been any effort to comply. So, yeah, that pretty much jives with what I remember.
And assuming he doesn't show up in the next, before we adjourn, maybe we just bump this item forward. Because I think if Bruce put it there, then he had some ideas about what specifically he wanted to talk about. Maybe if he doesn't show up here today, we just continue this to the next meeting.
That sounds good. Without objection, let's continue it. Okay. Mr. Rustin, would you call the next item on the agenda?
The next item is the administrator's report. As part of the report, I have a question. The 45-day rule, like the latest batch of anonymous complaints, I asked that person whether he or she would like to waive the 45-day rule and have all the items heard at the November meeting. But that person indicated that that person wanted the hearings to be done in October. The question is, does the 45-day rule apply only if the item is on the agenda and not being heard, basically giving a person a chance to be heard in October. But there are so many items on the agenda that it gets pushed back. Now, if it gets pushed back, then does that satisfy the 45-day rule? Because if that doesn't satisfy it, then we've been in violation many times.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, we have.
You're a terrible witness. Maybe after we...
Madam Chair, I would suggest we get Mr. Threet's input on that particular question. In the meantime, it's very possible we've violated the 45-day rule numerous times, but our hands are somewhat tied. We are an all-volunteer body whose members have outside obligations, including family and work. And if we could be meeting every week, that would be one thing, but we cannot. And so if one individual is going to bring that many complaints at one time before us, that individual has to understand that while we will do everything within our power to be as expeditious and as fair as possible in the matters being brought before us, we're human beings, and there may be, it may not be possible to hear all the matters within that 45-day window. And it's not a question of, we're deliberately violating the law. It's a question of we are acting, we are fulfilling our responsibilities to the best of our ability as time and resources permit.
Member Johnson.
On the administrator's report, one quick question. The anonymous complaints at the end, are the complainants more than one person? You don't have to tell me who they are, but
I don't think I should answer that question because I would be revealing some information
something about the anonymity.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Would Member Snyder agree?
Well, I was trying to take into consideration the 45-day rule, but I appreciate, being better safe than sorry.
Okay.
Are there any further comments on the administrator's report? Just about.
Been moved. We had to move.
We're down to the very last item, although we actually continued the item regarding the role of this body, which
Bruce needs
we
a copy.
decided you had requested, but you weren't here, so we continued it. But
Bruce needs a copy.
you're here. So members, do we want to reconsider putting this back on the agenda? So
Do you want to talk about it now, Bruce, or do you want to do it next time?
Madam Chair, whether we have public comment on administrator's report.
oh, okay. Is there any public? There's nobody in the audience, so there's no public comment on
That
this.
closes that
Okay,
item.
all right.
Well, if you guys have had it, then we can postpone it to the next meeting.
Microphone, please.
If you guys have had enough for the day, certainly okay with postponing it to the next meeting. I got stuck in horrible traffic. It's up to you.
Members?
Either way is fine with me.
Same here. Doesn't matter to me.
Thank you. Why don't we, because you're here, we haven't been here all night by any stretch, and
Well, I'm not following actually, I'm not clear as to what the agenda item is and why. I don't know that it doesn't recall or refresh my memory that of exactly what it is the discussion is to be about. So
There was a couple meetings ago, there was some discussion about.
Do we have to reopen the item?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
well, we need to reopen it.
let's reopen the item.
Okay.
All right. As I was, this may be in relation to some criticism that we got 2 meetings ago. I think it was 2 meetings ago. I can't remember his name. He's a regular attendee at our meetings. That what we were doing at these hearings, the committee hearings, is reopening issues and relitigating them in essence, rather than doing what in his view we should be doing. He's probably largely correct on this, which is just to check up on whether there's been compliance with an order of determination. And so we had within the committee some discussion about what is the role of the Compliance and Amendments Committee. And that may be where this agenda item came from. I don't know. I threw in a suggestion about a somewhat related suggestion about including language in an order of determination or as a cover to an order of determination saying, parties, here's what we do at Compliance and Amendments Committee meetings. You need to come and tell us whether you've complied if you're the agency, and if you're the complainant, you need to tell us whether you've received any documents. And what we do at this meeting is determine whether there's been compliance with the order. So read the order and figure out what you need to do and come and tell us about it. Because my feeling is that the parties sometimes are confused about what's going on at these meetings. And it probably adds to the confusion that sometimes we do. It's a tough line to draw, but sometimes we go over the line of inquiring into whether there has been compliance since the order issued and into the original determination on the merits. They're 2 different things, right? I mean, we've already determined the merits when it comes to this committee. The task force has already determined the merits. There was a violation. Our duty here is to say, all right, given the violation, which has already been adjudicated, in essence, given the fact that the task force has determined that there's a violation, have you complied with what the order told you to do? The order told you to produce records or whatever within 5 days. Has that happened?
Member Wolf?
So since then, and from what I think the way that we've been operating at the last meeting, I think it was pretty clear that we were taking up whatever we had made decisions on from that September 13th meeting and applying them correctly at the task force level. And I don't believe that at the last meeting we were terribly too out of line here with regards to getting through those decisions. I didn't feel like we were necessarily re-adjudicating anything. So I'm not, I guess because of the last meeting, I'm a little thrown off by what I had said, and there's not enough information in the minutes. I don't quite recall the thrust of my requesting that it be put on the agenda. So I don't want to waste any more time on this. I just there's nothing that kind of really pops out of my head, and there was nothing that I read in my notes before I left my home this morning. So I think the way things operated at the last general regular task force meeting was, I think that's kind of I don't know. They just felt that everything went as according to the way things should go. I have nothing further to add on this particular item without any further information. I possibly will have to go back and listen to the tape and hear what I said then. I normally don't do that. So,
I think I know that I think it was Ray Hartz that brought up the matter. Maybe a couple people did, were urging us not to re-adjudicate matters, and so I think we've been more mindful of it. That's been I've been more mindful of it. I know. I think we all have been. So for now, I guess we don't have an issue.
yeah.
So, or one that we can
I mean,
remember at any rate.
I don't know why the bylaws were attached to this agenda item either. So, that's why it confuses me a little on the way this item's presented.
Maybe because it delineates the role of the compliance and amendments. The bylaws are what we say we're going to do here.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had a discussion about it, we would have a starting point on page 25
Yep.
of the packet. Well, I guess theirs is really on 26.
Right.
I mean, I guess the only thing that is just that we be more confident about the order, the recommendation to the task force, so that it becomes very clear in exactly what it is that we've observed or experienced from whether there was compliance or not. So there's no question at the task force level.
I like the idea of Member Snyder's idea that we include a cover letter, or what cover letter we do send, that we give some information to the parties about what we do here. Mr. Rustum?
Madam Chair, the reminder that I sent out to the parties involved does say, ever since our last 2 meetings ago when we discussed the issue, do say that it is to evaluate whether the order of determination has been met.
Mm-hmm.
So that is in the reminder that goes out.
Okay.
Another thing to keep in mind for when the full task force makes a decision, and the order of determination results from that decision, it's a good idea for especially those of us that look at the orders of determination, namely me and Hope, for the task force to be clear about what the agency is supposed to do as a result of if anything, as a result of the vote of the task force, and then to make that as clear as possible in the order of determination. I mean, there have been a number, and there have been a number of orders of determination that haven't made it all that clear, and then sometimes they can have non sequiturs. There are no records to produce, or the task force determined that there aren't records to produce. And then the order of determination says produce the records in 5 days, so it's sort of unclear. That's something that I need to be watchful and mindful of. But just so that there's a kind of coherence between what the task force says and then what this committee is doing once it gets the order of determination.
Is there anything further on this item? And there's no one in the audience to offer public comment on this item, so. Oh, that's right, okay. I'll leave you in charge of that. Okay. All right, Mr. Rustum, could you call the next item on the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. Item number 8 is announcements, questions, and future agenda items from committee members.
Member Nee?
Yeah, not for this committee, but for the full task force. We need to be mindful that the winter holidays are approaching, and I've already emailed Task Force Chair Johnson about adjusting our schedule to accommodate the holidays. And I'm hopeful that the matter should go on the agenda for the next full task force meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I just made flight reservations for going to Florida in December, so Today, right? It's the only time to go to Florida in the wintertime. Okay. Anything further?
Madam Chair, any particular dates?
Oh, I'm going to be gone from December 21st to December 29th.
We're okay then.
Okay. I'm also going to be gone in November from the 17th to the 22nd. I'll be in Boston on business.
Thank you.
Anything further?
Move to adjourn.
Meeting's adjourned.